Hi everyone and welcome back. Welcome to my another video, and in this video we are going to deep dive into some AWS stuff. This video is a part of Uber Eats clone and we are planning to build the infrastructure through AWS CDK. So in the last video I talked about what is AWS CDK and how this AWS CDK can help developers to build the infrastructure on AWS, either deploying a microservice or either deploying a front-end app which is just a plain React app, or another application like server-side rendered application to a Lambda edge function. So these are all the aspects we are going to explore through this AWS CDK workshop. CDK is a cloud development kit provided by AWS to the developers, so they can write their code and can deploy the application by creating the stack and the constructs. So this is my root account. I'm just showcasing how it really works. You need to have an AWS account. And to access AWS, how you can access AWS through this UI console, the nice and clean UI console, through programmatic access using AWS CLI, or through these AWS CDK kit. What you need is you need to have access key and the secret key. So you need to keep those keys safe within yourself. Don't share it with anyone, otherwise they can access your AWS console and can create unnecessary resources. Then you will get the billing. That's not good. Okay, so this is my root account. What I will do is I will sign out a root account because I can access the billing. How to check if this is my root account? I always go to the billing and see if I can access the billing section. Yes, then this is my root account, and I can access my IAM, identity access management, and I can see the number of users I have in my account, and I can also check the security of my account. MFA is enabled. This is the root user and I have only one user, so I will just do the logout and try to log in with that. Sign into the console, and here I will just use IAM user. Okay, this is also MFA enabled, even the administrator account. This is like there is a root account and then I have created another administrator user, so I always use this administrator user to access my account. And here we are able to log in. After doing a couple of demos, I will remove this user because I'm exposing a lot of my information through this account. So this is my administrator account, and here I can not be able to see the billing console. Let's see, and then we will just explore a little bit about all the AWS services like IAM. IAM is identity and access management. You can actually manage the number of users. Currently I do have only one user. We'll create one sandbox user and we will play with that sandbox user. We'll just give a couple of permissions. So I'm not going to talk about the basic fundamentals, okay, how to work with the AWS console. There are thousands of the videos already available. You can just play with them. Or you can just create a new user, add it to the role group, and all those things you can do. So currently we don't have any role group. I can create a simple role group, sandbox users. And I will also add this TK Sharma to that user, and I can attach a policy, administrator access. So here I will give administrator access, that is like a full access on AWS console. So I'm just creating this group, and now you can onboard any other users if you want. I already have this user. If you want to just you can create a new users here, and then so here I am users. You can create another user, let's say TKS Sharma sandbox. And then okay, custom password, auto generated password, that's fine. Next, so this sandbox user, and this is the permission boundary. So in the permission boundary I can just give administrator access. Next, and I just do a create user. So now I do have two different users. You can see TK Sharma and all. And now with the help of these users, what you can do is you can actually create a access key and the secret key. These are the security credentials which we are going to use. Here we will just create an access key, because to access the AWS console, what you need, access key and the secret key, and this is how we will do it. So access key best practices, what all you wanted to do with that, you are planned to use through the command line just for local code and all. I will be using it for the command line, and you just choose other tag value. Okay, AWS access, I mean this console always gets changed. I will say done. You need to download these access key and secret key, otherwise they will be lost. And what I will do is, so this is just a simple plug and play. I will just delete both the users. At least I will delete this one. So this is how you can create the users on your AWS console. And now we can also talk about all the services. So I will be deleting that user because I have exposed some credentials. Even I will delete this user also. So what we are doing here is we created a user group, roles, policies, and all those things. If you look at the AWS services which we are going to explore, if I talk in terms of this, what all services we need to access all these things, and what we want to do is we want to deploy our applications. So what all AWS components which we may need is, first of all, I mean we may need a lot of things, but S3, CloudFront, we will need Lambda, API gateway, and maybe a DynamoDB and RDS. And obviously I am creating all the users to access these resources. IAM policies, roles, and all, and then we will access all these resources. So let's come back to here and we can explore all those things. So this is S3 bucket. To create S3 bucket, we can deploy our simply CSR application, client-side rendered application. Let's say I wanted to just build a simple bucket, and I can host my application from there by enabling the static website hosting. Then you need to have create a CDN using CloudFront. So we have these CloudFront. CloudFront will enable a CDN on all the edge locations we have. Like there are multiple edge locations spread around all the planet provided by AWS. So there will be a caching enabled on all the edge locations. So whatever the content you are rendered from this, like your static website or any of your front-end website, that will be cached and can be fetched very fast. And then we will talk about the Lambda. Lambda is actually just a functional based. You just write your functions. It's like no serverless. We will talk about the serverless aspect, which covers the Lambda, DynamoDB, API gateway, and all those serverless technology we are going to talk about. Here you just write a plain simple Lambda functions, and those Lambda functions are nothing but JavaScript, TypeScript functions, and they will be able to execute your code when you trigger it through the API gateway. So we will be thinking about deploying our microservices as a Lambda, Nest.js microservices as a Lambda. So it's all together exploring a lot of new things on top of that. And then API gateway, because you cannot execute, you cannot hit the Lambda directly from the outside world. You need to have an API gateway which will expose the execution of a Lambda. So you will hit an API gateway method, get, put, post, delete, patch, and then API gateway will indirectly hit your Lambda or any other AWS resources. And you can also talk about DynamoDB. Let's say DynamoDB. If you wanted to use DynamoDB as your database, then DynamoDB provides a very nice performance. You can create a tables. These are like key value pair database, no SQL database, and it is very nice to have We just need to have a partition key and sort key, and you can have a database tables. It's not a database, you just need to create a tables, and in this particular region you can create multiple tables. There is no concept of having a database in the DynamoDB. We will talk about that. And what else we have? CloudFormation. Through the AWS CDK, whenever we are doing AWS CDK synth, your stack actually converted into a CloudFormation template, and then that template will be populated inside your AWS, and it will create all the resources. So once we do AWS CDK deploy, we will see what CloudFormation template has been generated and what all resources has been created for that. So a lot of things to explore. Actually, CloudWatch we will use to see the logs. So all these are actually the developer tools or developer components we are talking about: CloudWatch, CloudTrail. If you talk about, you can actually look into a basic fundamental thing about AWS, what all components are. These AWS components are divided into the different sections like compute, storage. In storage, we may use RDS, relational database, and we can just use some RDS instance to connect to our Node.js services, and we can store our some of the tables there. So database, compute, AR/VR, analytics, all these are the different sections in which all these are divided. Like if you talk about compute, these are the compute which contains EC2, Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda and all, which is talking about execution and processing. When we talk about the database, it's all about storage, what all different ways in which we can store our data using RDS, using Elastic Cache, DynamoDB and all. Then we have a container solutions, ECS, Kubernetes and all, analytics, how we can do analytics of the data, cloud search, and then we have cost management, which is talking about the billing, cost explorer and all, developer tools. These are all the tools which you can use to like creating a repository, building the pipeline, code commit, code build, code pipeline. This I used to, I worked on them, but here we will be using GitHub and GitHub CI, GitHub Actions to deploy our application. And this is pretty much, I mean, you can explore all these once you have an account. For the storage, there are like, this is the real storage which talks about storing data in the S3, Glacier or Elastic File System, AWS backups, all these components. If you talk about the tabular or SQL databases, then these are the different storage medium in terms of the different databases. Okay, like Amazon Aurora, which is also popular, we can think of using it, but we will be stick to the RDS Postgres, and this is how we are going to work on it. So let's not delay our stuff. What you need to have a AWS console, and you need to have one administrator user, MFA enabled on the root account, and the another administrator user. MFA should be enabled on both, and you should be accessing the AWS console using your administrator user. But before that, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to use the administrator user access key and secret key, which are same every time. Instead of that, what we can do is, I'm thinking to create a AWS organizations. So let's say this is our AWS console, and AWS organizations helps us to organize our stuff inside multiple accounts. Let's say in big organizations, what they can have is they can have a billing account, they can have a finance account, a developer accounts, where they are actually working on the applications. So here I wanted to just orchestrate and make you familiar with this. So we'll create a multiple AWS account, at least the dev and the production. And on dev account, and we can just log in through the SSO, and we can get the access key and the secret key and the token, and using that we will be accessing the AWS resources. This is how we are going to go forward. So first we will explore AWS organizations. What we need, first of all, we need some mechanism to access AWS services. For that, we need an AWS access key and a secret key. Either you can just go to your IAM and create a new access key and secret key and just download it and keep using it. But I wanted to use it in a different way. We will create AWS organizations, and from there you can create your AWS access key and a secret key for a particular organization. That keeps changing because it expires. So we will be safe on that side. So stay tuned, and let's see that in the next video, AWS organizations.